All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us again for another edition of the Franchise Your Business webinar series. My name is Tom DuFore. I'm the founder and CEO of Big Sky Franchise Team, and I'm thrilled for you to be joining us. And if you are new to our show or new to this webinar series, we like to bring in experts, content folks that bring different levels of expertise into things that you need to know about as a franchisor. And so, our guest today, that is Mark Bowling. And just to give you a little background on Mark, I'll give you a little overview on his background. Mark is a 15-year veteran of the telecommunications and data processing industries with companies that grew to become leaders in their respective industries. He joined Black Sheep Productions in 2005, where he served for 19 years. Black Sheep exists to make a difference through a production of exceptional corporate events and has served organizations such as Sherwin-Williams, Intel, Primrose School, Cece's Pizza, and Jack in the Box. Mark is the recent founder of Black Sheep in the Community, a platform designed to support people looking to make a difference in their communities through organizations seeking volunteers. He's married to his wife, Wendy, the father of Bismarck and Brooks, and stepfather to Jordan and Zachary. He's the recent author of Gratitude, a book that explores how to harness the force of gratitude within an organization. And I'm super excited to have Mark on today just because we had a chance to meet at a book writing conference and make a connection. And turns out we have franchising in common. And so, with that, Mark, I would just love for you to say hello and really just give a maybe an overview on franchise events and specifically annual franchise conferences.
Yeah, so I think that thanks Tom for having me. I'm a big fan of yours. After meeting you at the Book in a Weekend event, and I just love that what you're trying to do is kind of in line with what we try to do as an organization, which is we strive to make a difference. We strive to make a difference for our clients and their key stakeholders. We exist to make a difference for what we call our Black Sheep family. We exist to make a difference for the live event industry, and ultimately we want to make a difference in the communities that we serve. And just kind of looking at franchise organizations, franchises are a little different from other businesses. So where we might have a sales meeting, getting people together, and it's much more trying to communicate information from corporate leaders to the individual attendees of an event. Franchise organizations are different, obviously, because each franchise owner is a business owner of themselves. They're running their own business, and we kind of think of them kind of like the Dave Ramsey EntreLeadership. You've got to have that special blend of entrepreneurship, but also they've got to be leaders in their own business as well. So you have to think not just about the what the franchise organization is looking to communicate, but also to be able to take a look at it from the perspective of kind of all the key stakeholders, within the organization, and that's why they're a little different from your typical corporate event.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's one of the reasons I really was excited to have you on is because you bring that understanding of a franchisee and franchise organizations that are largely uh, driven in their growth through franchising, because that franchise owner is different from a general manager that runs a local company owned location. That while they may serve a similar role, it's just very different in how they approach it because it's an owner. They invested all the resources, time, money, etc., into getting that franchise up and going. So one of the things that I was excited to ask you and talk through is really this idea of franchisee, or excuse me, franchisor and franchisee annual events that the franchisor uh, likely is putting on or should be putting on in some capacity. And I know that many of your clients, is on your client list listed here, these are large franchisors, and most of the client base we're serving probably at that under 50 franchises in their system, and many of them have fewer than 10. And so these large, robust conferences might not be are not available in the budget. However, they still should be having it. And I'd be curious, in your opinion, on what you see and why these events are important for franchisors to be having every year for their franchisees.
Yeah, I think that, Tom, when you take a look at the events, you've got to take a look at kind of backing up and looking at each key stakeholder and understanding what does a win look like for them. So, you, when you're planning it from the franchisor perspective, there's certain things that need to be communicated. There may be new systems, there may be new products, there may be new elements that need to be strategic initiatives that are being introduced that need to be communicated, and that's a win. From a franchisee perspective, franchise owner perspective, they have certain wins that they need to get out. They want to be able to attend an event and be able to understand some of that key information, sure, but also they want to be able to learn from each other. They want to learn best practices. It may be the only time that they get together to be able to see a lot of the different vendor partners maybe that are being offered, and being able to bring those people together. So, and the vendor partners themselves, taking a look at it from their perspectives, they may be contributing, and in a lot of the organizations that we plan, a large percentage of the cost of the event can be offset by having vendors and sponsors participate. That also then, of course, they are the stakeholders that need to be considered as well. So the event is planned, with enough time for the franchise owners to be able to interact with them, to be able to have plenty of time in a vendor hall, make sure that there are processes and procedures and some of the things that kind of help ensure that they get the face time that they need to be able to get a return on their investment. And similarly, then you have the shareholders of the franchise organization and the franchisees. You need to be able to look at it from the return on investment, making sure that it's a wise investment. So, and I think that, regardless of the size, regardless of how many, I think there's some key sections that need to be kind of broken down. Block Chief has spent over 2 years kind of automating the process that we go through in planning an event. And there are a couple of sections that I was just going to talk about at a very high level today. Just kind of thinking about, the planning process, the venue when you're trying to consider a venue, and just kind of the content of kind of the big ideas around those three areas.
No, I think that's perfect. Let's dig into each of those. So, when for out of these three main focal points, what's the first one, and let's talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I kind of think when you think about the planning process, I think what we have learned is that we want to be able to clearly define, like I said, what a win looks like for each one of the key stakeholders. We want to make sure that we have buy-in from each level, and whether that be through surveys, it can be through phone calls. There are lots of different ways that you can gather the information, just so that that you have people that you're planning the entire event, from the perspective of being able to provide what people are looking for. Um, so clearly defining what that looks like, but then also the planning process itself. Obviously, these are events that are critical to the overall operation of the organization. So making sure that you have a clear milestone set for each event element. So breaking down each session that needs to take place, breaking down, AV, entertainment, travel, all the various elements, whether it be food and beverage, and making sure that there's some clear milestones that are laid out, and that those clear milestones are clearly communicated through the organization, being able to help kind of walk through that process.
Excellent. Yeah, go ahead there. Were you want to jump into part two, or can continue on part one here?
Yeah. So I guess with that too is that, and we use a process or a platform called Monday.com to kind of break down each event element, to be able to set key milestones, to be able to assign dates and owners for each event element. And then it kind of gives us a board to be able to see where we are in the planning process. But you could use something as simple as Excel or Word. We have a document that I'm more than happy to be able to provide to anybody that would be interested. They kind of breaks down what an event would look like over a 9-month planning process, and it kind of gives some key things, everything from registration to app development to content development, rehearsals, and things like that. And I'm more than happy to be able to provide that if anybody's interested in getting that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great takeaway to share. So, I guess what's the best way for someone if they're interested? Would it be to reach out to you to get a copy of that?
Sure, yeah. People can reach out to me. My email address is mark, M-A-R-K, at black sheep and then a hyphen or dash productions.com. And I'm more than happy to provide that. Yeah,
Great.
it just is an opportunity to make a difference.
Yeah, perfect. Well, and we'll make sure we include that on a replay and show notes and such so that people can easily access that there. I think it's wonderful. Well, perfect. Well, I'd love for you to continue down your overview
Sure.
here.
Yeah, so the next thing is just taking a look at the venue, understanding what it is that you're looking to accomplish, and making sure that you're finding the right venue. Black Sheep Productions provides a team that can negotiate contracts. They understand kind of the production of the planning process, and also kind of what organizations need to be asking for as it relates to considerations from the venue. So whether it be a certain number of free rooms, free Wi-Fi, some of those kind of things you can negotiate. I had a mentor that told me a long time ago that when you're going through the planning process before you sign the contract, it's negotiation. After you sign the contract, is you're begging. So it's good to be able to kind of understand what it is that the structure of the event
Hmm.
before you send out the RFP to be able to make sure that you're selecting the right venue and that both the client and the planner and the venue are all kind of on the same page of what you're looking to accomplish. Sometimes those plans can change, but once a venue is selected, the next kind of process step in the process would be a site visit for kind of the planning team, making sure that everything kind of fits. And before we do that, we like to try to have a rough agenda of what it is that so that you can take a look at the venues and or the different spaces that are going to be used so that you have a good idea of what the different event elements are going to fit in each one of the different spaces. um, and the one thing that as it relates to venue planning is also to be able to think about not just the venue itself and being able to secure the space, but think about it from a production perspective and making sure that you have plenty of time to be able to set up your AV, be able to set everything up, but then also to be able to provide rehearsal time because rehearsals are critical, not just for the people that are speaking, but it's also for the people that will be operating the equipment and making sure that you plan that as part of the venue selection process up front and understand that you working with a partner that understands that those are things that you need. Um, and I guess the last part we were kind of talking through was just kind of the content itself is the overwhelming majority of the events that we produce there's a theme that's explored. So and everything should tie back to that theme. And usually that's a key initiative. That's a one word motivational topic. There are different things that help organizations or planners or event production companies come up with a theme that fits the event. But then really want to make sure that everything fits within that theme. And if it doesn't fit, then either the theme isn't the right thing, or you might need to consider kind of reworking the content itself. Um, as you work through the content development process, there are a couple of things that, especially with franchise organizations, we want to make sure that in events that we plan, that we provide sufficient time for for networking and being able to spend time with each other. Just because franchise owners learn so much for best practices from each other, whether that be roundtable discussions, you can break down topics by new franchise organizations, multi-site owners, mature owners, and what that would allow is not just multi owners learning from other multi owners, but for single owners that want to be able to learn how to become multi owners. How do you do that? The new franchise owners being able to learn from the more mature franchise owners and trying to designate some of those things. And some of those things can be you could have roundtable discussions where you have topics by table that people can go sit to, or one of the things that we've done in the past is like have different topics on coffee cups. So during breaks, you select your coffee cup based on the topic that's important to you. if you see somebody with his coffee cup, you're like, oh, I'm interested in that, or I have experience in that. It's an opportunity to kind of cross pollinate and share ideas. So making sure that you have plenty of free time for networking, roundtable discussion, things like that. And
Well, and Mark, I,
again,
I would
yeah.
just jump in real quick to add to that. I would say when I was a franchisee, in a I was a multi-unit owner for 6 or 7 years in a franchise system, and when I went to pretty much every annual conference that they held, and I will say for sure the roundtable discussions that I was able to have with the other franchisees. And for my franchise that I owned at the time, we were always kind of in the middle. We weren't definitely not high performers, we weren't the low performer, we were right dead smack in the middle. So I loved being around some of those high performing franchisees that are, I remember one was in let's see, Oregon, and one in New Jersey, and one in different parts of the country that I wouldn't I had a captive audience with them, right? I'd be able to get them for 10 minutes or 20 minutes or in a roundtable and other people asking questions. So I definitely, as a franchisee, having gone through that, those were almost always the best part of that convention, is meeting and talking with the other owners.
Mm, yeah. And typically in post-event surveys, when we kind of try to summarize and try to learn how we can continue to improve on the experience that we provide, hands down, learning from each other tends to be right near the top of the things that people, the value. And when people talk or surveyed about what are you looking forward, looking most forward to the upcoming event, learning from each other. So you're absolutely spot on.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Very interesting.
And then the last thing I was kind of thinking about as it related to content is just making sure that you're building in enough time for rehearsals. And it's not just rehearsals on site, but making sure that as you're walking through the content development, that you have time at least 4 to 6 weeks prior to your event to be able to allow all the executive stakeholders to be able to review content, making sure that everything flows, making sure that if it's not the key executive delivering the message, that they've empowered other managers, directors, to be able, or even outside speakers that'll be delivering content, making sure that the message is refined well enough in advance to that if there are changes that need to be made, that can be done without having to wait until the last minute. And the next thing is, at least a week or so before the event, trying to have a full rehearsal of the content. And typically what we'll do is we'll have our teleprompter operator, graphics operator, stage manager, all participate in the franchise in that rehearsal, so that we know that not only do the presenters and the speakers know how the sessions will flow, but also our team will know how it flows. So from an AV perspective, and then once we get on site, there are people that are the switchers and the audio people and the video people, that they all need to be able to go through rehearsals as well, so that they fully understand. So I think there are multiple levels of content rehearsal that help make sure that the event is the success that it needs to be.
Well, that's interesting, and I think that makes a lot of sense. It's the same thing. I coach my kids' youth baseball teams, right? And we say we practice how we play, right, or we play how we practice. And so this makes sense in this. I'm curious in terms of, especially as you're working some of these large events and with large organizations, um, what this do you find it's challenging at times to get the organizational leadership or speakers and people kind of actually come in and get rehearsed or practiced or kind of sort through that in like that 4 to 6 week window?
You know, it was initially, and I think that we still have a couple of clients that that we're still trying to help coach them on that process, trying to help understand the value of making sure that content's developed well in advance. Uh, we have some amazing clients that that completely understand that value, and I think that when you have a partner that can help you go through that process, to be able to recognize the value, once you get it, you understand, Um, it, I would just hate somebody to learn those lessons from the school of hard knocks. You're going to understand it, either from the beginning and invest the time and effort, or regrettably, there are going to be some things that it just may not flow as easily and as well as it should.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yep. Um, Great. Well, I'd love for you to share. I guess as someone, and just as someone's maybe thinking about, okay, well, this sounds great. I got the event and content, and now the event happens, right? It goes on. What are you doing afterwards? Are there post event things you want to be doing, or things of that nature? Can you talk through some of that?
Yeah, absolutely. There's an old saying that you never step in the same river twice, right? So, things are constantly changing, and there's another old saying that the only thing that's constant is change. So our organizations are growing, our organizations are changing. The challenges that were faced, the previous year are not going to be the challenges that you face the following year. So while you can do post-event surveys, you can understand what went well, the key takeaways. Those are some of the things that you want to try to model and be able to bring into your event in the future years. We try to kind of approach each event as a new event. So, understanding where were we when we started planning this process, and what's changed. What is it that we want the audience to start, stop, or continue doing, and then be able to put some metrics in place to be able to try to guide. How what does success look like? And if you define that, like we talked about, if you define that on the front end, then after the event, you should be able to, through surveys and through communications, be able to understand where you are on target, and opportunities to be able to improve. But post-event surveys are critical in helping kind of evaluate that success and being able to understand and be able to filter that data, but also to be able to have that data available for when you're going to start planning, the next year. The majority of these events, we'll start planning 9, 10 months, ahead. So we're starting, we'll wrap up one event, and then usually there's about a month or so of kind of the post event wrap up of reconciling budgets and sending out post event surveys. There may be a month or so of kind of discussions of what all of that looked like, but it's not far after that we start taking a look at the following year to be able to say, okay, we understand that the event for that's going to be taking place in 10 months. We need to start thinking about themes. We need to start thinking about graphics. We need to start thinking about online registration and apps and technology. What technology worked for the event before, and what changes and tweaks do we need to be able to make the next year a success. So that planning process is long, but it starts in most cases immediately after the previous event wraps up.
Yeah, I would imagine, just even for venue space and availability and those kinds of things. Do you find that for these annual events, is the date predetermined for the next show, even though you might not have the details sorted out, so that you're kind of pre-selling your franchisees to say, "Hey, next year's event is going to be in this location, at this city, or in this weekend, or whatever, whenever it might be."
Yeah, we've always tried to have at least the dates for the following year nailed down, at the time the event takes place. Post COVID, we're trying to get that out even further, not just 1, but 2 or 3 years, because space is becoming, critical. The venues themselves, the large hotels, they're trying to maximize their space. So they're trying to get as much in their space as possible, trying to take advantage of it. And if you wait too long, you're not going to be, you may be able to get the room for your sessions, but you may not be able to get it in time for, like we were talking about before, being able to have plenty of time to be able to set up the AV and be able to allow the AV teams to go through what we would call tech rehearsals before you even get to bringing your speakers and your key executives in for their rehearsals. So the crew would tech through a show to be able to make sure that they know all the cues and what's going to be happening, then go through the rehearsals. And that takes time. That takes, at least a day to be able to kind of have that planned. If you're not planning your event out at least a year, if not 2 years in advance, you're going to run up against kind of what the inventory that's available, and you're not going to have the flexibility that you would if you didn't plan otherwise.
Well, that makes a ton of sense here. Well, Mark, is if someone who listens to this and says, "Well, I'm curious about this," or maybe they're a a marketing director or vice president of sales at a franchise system, national franchise system, say, "Boy, Mark makes a ton of sense. We're trying to manage this all on our own, and it's become too complex or too time consuming. We can't do it." We'd love to work with a group like Mark's with Black Sheep Productions and what they're doing. What's the best way for someone to find out more about you, get in contact, reach out, and kind of take that at least initial step to have a conversation?
Yeah, the easiest way is just to you can send me an email, mark at blacksheep-productions.com. You can visit us online, blacksheep-productions.com. You can give me a call, 404-663-2388. I'm more than happy to have a conversation. Like I said from the beginning, we exist to make a difference. If an organization's not to the point where they need somebody like a Black Sheep Productions to kind of come in and help them, we're more than happy to be able to provide resources, in the form of templates and things that we've used for producing events. We'll provide those kinds of things at no cost. We're just as our desire to make a difference, and then hopefully as the organizations grow, we could grow with them, and we've just found that that's the right way for us to be able to conduct our business. Would just love to kind of start by just having a conversation, and even if we can be a sounding board, to be able to say, "Hey, we thought about doing X, Y, Z. What's your experience?" And I may not have the answer, but I may have a member of our team that I could refer them to be able to try to get the answer. I think you'll find that our team is we're grateful for every opportunity that we have with our clients. We're grateful for where the 24 years that we've been in business, the relationships that we've had, the opportunities that we've had. We want to be wise stewards of all the other clients that have come before and the relationships that we've had. And so however we can be able to make a difference and pay that forward, we're happy to do that. But so don't think about just picking up the phone or sending an email that's automatically going to start, some sort of timer or a billing clock, because that's just not the way we work.
Well, I think that's a tremendous offer, and just love that you're living what you're talking about, what's important to your organization. So, well, this has been phenomenal interview. I really appreciate your time, and just put you on the spot, but I'd love to have you on as a follow up on our other podcast, Multiply Your Success, to dig a little more deeper into some of these issues and to talk about your book. So just would love to have you on and share that and talk about that as well. So this has been a wonderful interview, Mark. I really appreciate it.
I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here. However I can personally or through Black Sheep make a difference, please. And if just for a plug for what you read about at the beginning, for people that are in the Atlanta area, we started a service kind of going back to the way we try to make a difference through the communities with blacksheepinthecommunity.com. There are some amazing organizations, especially in the Atlanta area, that need volunteers to be able to help run their organizations, just to be able to get the things done that they do. Blacksheepinthecommunity.com, you can go there, and we have volunteer opportunities kind of rolling every 3 to 4 months. There'll be just about something every single day. You can have 2 to 3 different opportunities to be able to serve to make a difference. So would love for people to be able to embrace that.
I love it. We'll include that in the show notes as well, so people can get involved and participate, and link up to your book as well. And just appreciate your time. Thanks so much for being here, and thank you to everyone for joining us. Hope you all have a great weekend.